The first cover we'll be working on is Dragon Ball Chapter 219, where you see Goku racing across Snake Way as Vegeta and Nappa give Gohan, Krillin, and Piccolo a 3-hour break to give Goku a chance to arrive. For this cover, we'll be needing 2 SH Figuarts figures, not just one, and you'll see why in a moment. The first figure we'll need is the DAIMA Goku figure. The only reason we need this is for the windswept hair sculpt. Of all the Goku figures in my collection, I think this hair looks the most similar to how Goku's hair looks on the cover. Yes, I could theoretically Photoshop his hair to look exactly like the cover, but I want to keep things like hair more organic if I can, so this windswept hair sculpt was the best choice in my opinion. Unfortunately, for the teeth gritted face sculpt, which we'll need to recreate this cover, his eyes are looking off to the side. And you already know how I feel about eyes looking off to the side. Dude, how can you include 2 yelling head sculpts and they're both looking off to the side? So I will have to Photoshop his eye later, but that shouldn't be too difficult. The next figure we'll need is the most difficult Goku to find at Walmart ever. Lowest born Saiyan Goku. And I am not exaggerating, I bought this figure from Walmart online like 10 times over the course of several months and never got it. Look at the reviews. You'll see how horribly Walmart handled this figure. And honestly, Walmart online for Dragon Ball figures seems to just be horrible overall. I bought Lowest Born Saiyan, and they delivered Daima Goku. I bought Trunks, and they sent me a Dragon Stars Vegito. I bought a Dragon Stars Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and my package was lost. Needless to say, I don't really trust Walmart with Dragon Ball figures. But anyways, the reason we need Lowest Born Saiyan is for the body. He has the Turtle Hermit symbol on the front, and the King Kai symbol on his back, which we can see prominently featured on the cover. Thankfully, the Daima Goku head sculpt fits onto the Lowest Born Saiyan neck peg with no problems, so we won't be needing any custom neck pegs or sticky tack shenanigans. We'll also be needing some hands from the Lowest Born Saiyan. None of them perfectly match the manga cover, but to me the martial arts pose hands are the closest, so I'll be using those. Now it's time for a lot of people's favorite part, the posing. Sadly, Lowest Born Saiyan can't turn his waist very much, either that or mine is just very stiff, but I wasn't risking breaking this thing, so you can try twisting yours and let me know how that goes in the comments. I don't expect it to go very well, just as a warning. So given the limited waist movement, I had to decide between how accurately I wanted to pose his head versus how much of the King Kai symbol I wanted to show. I think I went with something kind of in the middle. Now it's time for my favorite part, the graphic design. The first thing I did was import the image I took into GIMP and scale it down to more closely match Goku's size on the cover. Making these things a perfect match organically is pretty much impossible because the body proportions used in the manga or anime are almost never the same as the body proportions used for figures. The next step was to remove the green screen. Originally, I was going to do this manually, but I wasn't completely satisfied with it, so I ended up removing it in DaVinci Resolve. I didn't record that part because DaVinci Resolve has a bit of a learning curve, but I think it produced a much better final result. After that, it was time to fix his right eye to make him look forward instead of off to the side. Now imagine if I was making stop motion with this face sculpt. I would have to edit his eye for every frame. Not happening. I think his eye turned out pretty good. Let me know what you think. Once I was mostly done with the SHF Goku, it was time to edit the background to remove the manga Goku. Initially, I was gonna manually extend all these lines across the entire background, then fill in behind them with pink, but shortly after I started, I realized that these are probably hundreds of lines and I'd be there for hours, so I did what any hardworking artist would. I went to Pixabay to see if anyone had uploaded any background images with lines like these. Thankfully, I found one by Marius Oberholster. It wasn't an exact match, but it was close enough. So I brought it into GIMP, scaled it down, flipped it, cropped it, and removed the white background. Then I added my own pink background and modified that to suit. Now the lines in the pink background were blocking the clouds, so I merged them and erased the parts that were in front of the clouds. I also decided to remove Goku's belt since it isn't visible on the manga cover, clean his hair up a bit, adjust his saturation to make some of the colors more vibrant, and give the border some finishing touches. So here's the final result, guys. Let me know if you like it. I'm pretty pleased with it, although making this really highlighted for me some of the posing limitations of SH Figuarts. If his waist could rotate better, I'd definitely be able to get a more accurate pose. Anyways, let me know what other Dragon Ball manga covers you'd like to see in SH Figuarts form. If I have the figures for it, then I'll add it to my list. Be sure to subscribe so you get the next installment of this series sent to your subscription feed. And remember, if you see any t-shirts with my name on AliExpress, even if there's a $5 off coupon, those are bootlegs. Thanks for watching, and bye for now. Alright guys, today we'll be recreating the manga cover for Dragon Ball Chapter 227, entitled The Emperor Stirs. Now, I assume the Emperor here is Vegeta, but he's a prince, not an emperor, so kinda weird, but okay. This is the chapter where Vegeta ends Nappa and Goku leads him to Gizzard Wasteland. Yeah, I didn't know this place had a name either, where they get ready to start their fight. The anime equivalents of this chapter are DBZ episodes 29 and 30 and DBZ Kai episode 13, which we just covered in part 2 of our Every DBZ Fight You Can Recreate with SH Figuarts series. For this cover, we'll be needing 3 SH Figuarts figures. Yes, 3, not 2. You'll see why. The first figure we'll need is a carryover from episode 1, every scalper's favorite Goku, Lowest Born Saiyan. To properly prepare this figure for this cover, we'll need 4 things. First, we'll need the body, of course. Second is the teeth-gritted head sculpt, which thankfully is not looking off to the side. Although I will say in this case, if his eyes were looking off to the side, that would actually make my life easier. But I can't roast Bandai for having eyes looking off to the side, and then also roast them when the eyes are looking forward, you know? We've got to be consistent, right? And we're no strangers to photoshopping eyes, so we'll fix that. The third thing we need is his right martial arts pose hand, which is actually really close to how Goku's hand is posed on the cover, and finally, his left fist. The second SHF figure we'll need is of course a Vegeta, but I'll be using the 24,000 power level Vegeta. I actually put the Dragon Star's waist armor on mine to make him look like he did in the Saiyan Saga, thanks to Logofigs for his tutorial, which made me aware that you could do this. But you actually don't need this mod for this cover, since Vegeta's waist isn't visible. WoW Super Action Studio recently revealed that they're making a Saiyan Saga Vegeta, so this mod of mine might not be around for much longer. Hopefully, I'll finally have both a Saiyan Saga and Namek Saga Vegeta. And while Super Action Studio, if you're watching this, please make both a normal and battle damaged version, and make it accurate, unlike the lazy job Black Hole Toys did, which was not accurate to the Saiyan Saga, since it still had the waist armor and it didn't have baggy pants. Yes, I'm gonna keep bringing up those baggy pants until someone makes them. But back to this figure. Apart from the body itself, we're also gonna be using his smiling faceplate and his left fist. The last figure we'll need is the SHF Super Saiyan Vegeta, but only a certain faceplate. Now, if you're a stickler for accuracy like I am, then you can probably tell why we need this figure. But for those of you who aren't completely sure where I'm going with this, it'll all be made clear later. Time for some posing. First, we have lowest born Saiyan Goku. Since he's floating in the air, I have him connected to my makeshift rig, which is literally just a bendy phone holder that I spray painted green. This pose was much easier to accomplish than the one from episode 1. Next we have Vegeta. This one is a real close-up, so it's times like these where I definitely need my webcam instead of my phone because it can focus much closer. If I tried taking this with my phone, I'd have to position him much further away from the camera for it to focus properly. Also, I'm not gonna take just one picture of Vegeta, but two. One where his face is in focus, and another where his hand is in focus. I'll then blend them to make one image. Finally, we have the Super Saiyan Vegeta faceplate. And now is the time to reveal why we need this. Look at Vegeta's smile on the cover. His mouth is open quite a bit, but the smile on the 24,000 power level Vegeta is much more subtle. So what we're gonna do is take an image of this Super Saiyan Vegeta smile, which is much closer to the one on the cover, and then Photoshop his smile onto the 24,000 power level Vegeta to get an overall more accurate expression. With all these images taken, it's time for the graphic design. The first thing we need to do is remove the green screen for lowest born Saiyan Goku. Now originally, I was planning to use DaVinci Resolve for the green screen, but for some reason, it kept failing whenever I tried to export a 4K image with a transparent background. This doesn't make any sense because I exported a 4K image with a transparent background for episode 1. I've heard DaVinci Resolve customer support is useless, so I just decided to go the manual route in GIMP. The next step for Goku was to edit his eyes to look off to the side. So, kinda weird, right? The opposite of what I usually do. Before I started working on Vegeta, I decided to work on the background instead. I knew that manually removing Vegeta and Goku from this background would be a nightmare, so I just took a screenshot from the DBZ Kai intro and used that instead. Work smarter, not harder. After spending probably over an hour editing the background, I later realized that I had to completely redo it in order to make those white lines look the way I want. But you'll see the difference later. Once I was done with the background, or so I thought, it was time for Vegeta. Once again, because of the body proportions being different on the figure compared to the manga, I had to decide how much of Vegeta's fist I wanted to show versus how large his face should be. I decided that showing most of his fist was super important, so his face ended up being a bit smaller than the manga Vegeta. Next, it was time to add the Super Saiyan Vegeta smile to the 24,000 power level Vegeta. I then had to decide whether I was going to keep those white lines or not, and I decided to keep them. I used the Marius Oberholster image again, but this time I made the lines white. While editing these lines, I realized that due to how the rock formation was positioned in my background, I couldn't get the lines to look similar enough to the cover. So what does that mean? I completely redid the background. I gave the white lines black outlines and made some finishing touches. So here it is. The Emperor stirs in SH Figuarts form. Accomplishing these poses was way easier than episode 1, so I think this one is much more accurate. But will that be the case for the next cover? Guess we'll have to wait and see. Let me know what other Dragon Ball manga covers we should recreate. I know that one of you requested covers from original Dragon Ball, but I have literally 0 original Dragon Ball figures in my collection right now, so these suggestions are much more likely to be made sooner. In fact, if you haven't already, you should watch my collection video from January 2025 and the recent Every Dragon Ball Figure I Got in 2025 video to get an idea of what figures I currently own. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoy this series. Thanks for watching, and bye for now. Alright guys, today we're recreating the manga cover for Dragon Ball Chapter 230, The Dangerous Threefold Kaioken. In this chapter, we see Goku punch the absolute snot out of Vegeta, something WoW Super Action Studio is making a figure for. Yes, as you can tell, I'm very excited about their Vegeta. If you're too lazy to read, like I usually am, the anime equivalents of this chapter are DBZ episodes 30 and 31, and DBZ Kai episodes 13 and 14. Now this episode is a unique one. This marks the debut of a third-party figure, and the third-party figure we'll be using is so spot on to this cover. Man, Tamashi needs to take some notes. This figure will show you what SH Figuarts should look like. Miniature versions of the manga and anime. But I won't beat a dead horse. If you want to see how I feel about the aesthetics of SH Figuarts figures, see the videos I've made about it. So for this cover, we'll need 1 third-party figure, 2 SH Figuarts figures, and 1 Dragon Stars figure. This time, the Dragon Stars figure is necessary, unlike episode 2. Without further ado, let's begin. The first figure we'll be needing is the WoW Super Action Studio Goku, but specifically the non-Kaioken version. Can you imagine trying to edit the Kaioken one to look like normal Goku? I don't usually buy Kaioken figures since I can just Photoshop Goku red if I needed to for an animation or something, so I got the seemingly less popular version. This figure's body proportions are very similar to the manga cover, but they're still slightly different. It would be pretty much impossible to capture every manga panel's proportions in one figure after all. Not every panel has the exact same style. It seems that when they made this figure, they really based it specifically on this panel, and I think they did a very good job. One thing to note though, as we mentioned in our Every DBZ Fight You Can Recreate series, the boots aren't accurate since they have ties. Also, I love the shading they put on the upper body, but I really wish the pants had great shading too to really make the figure feel complete. Anyways, for this figure, we'll be needing this smiling faceplate, his 2 fists, and this specific hair sculpt. This figure actually includes 2 hair sculpts for Goku that are mirrored versions of each other, and I'm so glad I remembered how important this was before I took the picture, because if I had to flip the image later, that might not look quite right. Oh, and if you want this Goku, I'll leave a link in the description. Once this is gone, I have no idea how easy it'll be to find. And if you're someone who loves the manga especially, this figure is something you really need in your collection. The next figure is returning from episode 2, 24,000 power level Vegeta with the Dragon Star's waist armor. This time though, the waist armor is necessary because Vegeta's waist is visible. The only thing we'll need from this figure is the body. We don't even really need the hands or any head sculpt. You'll see why in a moment. The second SHF figure we'll need is one that has a pretty bad reputation. I know a lot of people, including myself, do not like these head sculpts. But in this case, I think they work better than any other official base form Vegeta I have. We're gonna be using the smirking faceplate. I will say though, putting the superhero Vegeta head sculpt on the 24,000 power level neck peg was an absolute nightmare. I had to look at the pegs to see if they were different sizes or something, but they look similar to me. To help avoid breaking something, I used my sister's hairdryer to soften the superhero head sculpt. Once I did that, it went on pretty easily. Anyways, Goku and Vegeta are ready to go, so let's pose these things. First, we're gonna pose Vegeta. Just like episode 2, this one is quite a close-up, so we're gonna bring him really close to the camera. Now, due to the limited posability of SHF figures, we won't be able to get Vegeta's shoulders as high up as on the manga cover. SHF figures don't have great vertical shoulder movement, and I'm not sure how they would even implement that. So there's no way to make Vegeta hunch over like he is on the cover. I think this will be fine. Now we reach the star of the show, Goku. The pose for this one is very simple. We just need him standing with his arms out, looking forward. And with that, we've now reached the most fun part for me, the graphic design. And for this one, I'll be going the extra mile. You'll see what I mean. So the first thing we want to do is remove the green screen from Goku. I didn't even bother trying DaVinci Resolve for this, I just removed it in GIMP. Then made some color corrections to reduce the green hue and make the colors look more natural. Once that was done, I lined Goku up with the manga Goku. Since the proportions aren't exactly the same and I can't really pose the WoW Goku with his shoulders raised in the same way Goku is on the manga, his arms are a bit lower. You see how his shoulders are in line with his ears? That literally isn't possible with the WoW Goku. I could Photoshop his head to place it lower, but as I said before, I want to keep things like poses more organic. In this series, if the figure can't accomplish the exact pose, I'd usually rather show that to highlight how the figure could be improved than Photoshop it to do something that it can't. Next, it's time for Vegeta. Fixing the green hue on him was a bit more challenging, but I think I found something good in the end. For Vegeta, I had to decide between how large his body was and how large his face would be. I felt having his face match the manga Vegeta was more important, so the body will be a bit smaller. After I was done with Vegeta, I decided to take Goku to the next level. As you'll notice, the WoW Super Action Studio Goku doesn't have any wounds or scratches, so I decided to add my own. But before I could do that, when I zoomed in really close, I noticed that I posed Goku's head looking slightly to his right, and I was not starting this thing completely over, so I edited his left eye to make it look like he's looking forward instead of slightly off to the side. Ah! Anyways, once that was done, it was time for the wounds and scratches. Since the body of the figure is segmented, his chest doesn't have the same surface area, but I tried to make it look very similar. The last step was to remove the manga Goku and Vegeta from the background. I made a black box and filled it in with purple, which completely removed Vegeta. Then, I erased the last remaining parts of the manga Goku. Finally, I cropped SHF Vegeta to match the background. We didn't have to crop Goku because, as you see, he isn't cut off by the border and is basically standing in front of it. So here's the final result. Honestly, I think this is my favorite one yet, because of how perfectly the WoW Super Action Goku matches the manga art style. Hopefully we get more manga or anime accurate figures soon. Now let's talk about episode 4. I know you guys really love this series, and since we started, you've requested a lot of cool stuff. I didn't want to just choose my favorite, so I'm actually going to let you guys vote on what cover we recreate next. First place will be episode 4, and second place will be episode 5. After this video goes live, I'll start a poll on my YouTube post section. Go there to vote for your favorite option. I'll probably check the results in about a week to give everyone a chance to vote. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys choose. So with that being said, if you enjoy this series and want to see us continue to speedrun these manga covers, be sure to subscribe, like the video, hype it, and all the other YouTube stuff. Thanks for watching, and bye for now. Alright guys, the people have spoken, and I have listened. As you voted for, we're going to be recreating the manga cover for Dragon Ball Chapter 324, entitled A Quiet, Fierce Battle. And making this cover for me was a quiet, fierce battle. You'll see what I mean later. Featured this time are Super Saiyan Goku and jacked to the gills Frieza. Man, I miss when Dragon Ball characters actually looked intimidating. Much better. For those of you who are still suffering from Dragon Ball fan syndrome, or DBFS, which is the medical term, this chapter coincides to DBZ episode 101 and DBZ Kai episodes 51 and 52. And as for what figures we'll need for this cover, I'll keep that a secret for now. Those of you who are loyal subscribers probably know where I'm going with this, but for the future loyal subscribers, I'll just say this. We're gonna put Bandai to shame yet again. So the first figure we'll need should be pretty obvious. SH Figuarts Full Power Frieza. I will say, I think Bandai did a pretty good job with this figure. If it actually had good shading, I might even call it perfect. Did someone say shut up, Cell? Based on how he's posed on the cover, we'll need these open hands. As for his head sculpt, well, it's tough to tell on the cover. But based on this SHF promotional image, I'll use the smiling one. Next is Goku. Now for him, you're probably expecting me to use the legendary Super Saiyan Goku figure. Right? Wrong! Get this trash out of here. $70 with no details. We're gonna be using this. Now I know you're probably wondering how you can get this figure. Well, you can't. At least not as one figure. This, dear viewer, is a kit bash. For the body, you'll need the NT Unyielding Spirit, which is basically a clone of legendary Super Saiyan Goku, but with actual details. I much prefer this body aesthetically to the official figure, but there are some QC issues to keep in mind. For example, one of my hand pegs started breaking, so I swapped the pegs out with a spare Saiyan Raised on Earth that I had. If you want to see my full review, link in the description for that. Now obviously this head sculpt is not the one you saw earlier. That was actually by DCG.
and these look way better than any Super Saiyan Goku Bandai has ever made. I don't think this set is perfect, but it really does have that more artistic anime look to it, and that I really do like. I reviewed this in the same video I mentioned just now, so give that a look if you want more info. So if we combine the NT body with the stern DCG head sculpt and some fists, we have a Goku that captures the aesthetic of the manga much better. He looks like he was actually in a battle with the Emperor of the Universe, not like he just got out of a hot tub.
That was relaxing.
And with Goku and Gold's Gym Frieza ready to go, it's time to pose them. First we'll pose Frieza. Getting his feet to overlap properly, while also balancing him and having his tail in a similar position to the cover, was slightly challenging, but I think he turned out pretty well in the end. Now Goku was an absolute nightmare. This is actually the second time I posed him. The first time, the image ended up really noisy. I think the main issue is the fact that his head is further away from the camera than his body, and that depth difference was tough for my webcam to handle while delivering a clear image. This webcam also really needs bright lighting for its quality to shine through, and it was difficult finding the right settings for this scenario. Pair that with Goku's unusual positioning, and it was a recipe for trash. So I ended up using my phone instead in the end. I still had to make a composite image with different areas in focus, but the quality was much better. Now on to another nightmare this time around, the editing. So why was editing a nightmare? Well, it was because of Goku again, of course, but I'll explain that later. The first thing I did this time, unlike episode 2, was I actually sat down and removed Goku and Frieza from the background. This took me a total of 1 hour, 52 minutes, and 3 seconds, so basically 2 hours. I guess I threw work smarter not harder out the window. The process wasn't that difficult, and it was kind of fun, but it was just very time consuming. Once the background was mostly done, it was time for Frieza. As is the usual problem we encounter, the body proportions of the figure aren't the same as the manga, so I just tried to put him in a similar position with comparable sizing. Now the nightmare continues. Well, for me, not for you. The footage you're seeing is the second time I edited Goku. What happened to the first time? Well, the first time, I used that trash noisy image and didn't realize it was a trash noisy image until I finished editing. Then I realized, wait, am I gonna have to repose him and start all over again? Yes, that's exactly what I did. I considered using the denoise feature of the gimmick, I think that's how you say it, gimmick or gimmick, I don't know, that plugin for GIMP, but I knew the cover would look better if I just took a good quality image from the beginning, so I went back to my green screen and posed Goku again. And what you're seeing right now is the good version of me editing Goku. Once I had a good quality image to work with, I think it went pretty smoothly. Since Frieza had an outline, I felt it made sense to give Goku one too, and interestingly enough, similar to Frieza, I think without an outline, Goku was kind of getting visually lost in the background, probably because his skin color is somewhat similar to the cliffs behind him. Anyways, I added the finishing touches, and chapter 324 was complete. So here it is. The long-awaited episode 4 is over. Let me know what you think. This one turned out to be more work than I expected, but I can rest easy now knowing it's done. I can't really say tell me what cover you'd like to see next because you already voted for chapter 309, so as promised, that will be episode 5. If you want to see us continue this manga cover marathon, be sure to subscribe, hype the video, like it, and so on. And feel free to suggest future covers you'd like to see in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, and bye for now.
Why have you summoned me? Tell me your wish now. So be it. Your wish has been granted.
Alright guys, today we're recreating the runner-up from the poll we had in episode 3. And, kind of surprisingly, it's Goku and Frieza again. I guess the Namek saga is the most popular saga. That explains why Tamashii keeps milking it over and 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 over 3,000 Namek saga figures later. And over. Woo! And expect some new pre-orders this year. Anyways, back to chapter 309, which is entitled Neither Gives an Inch. I am trying to be considerate to the infirmed, so if you'd rather watch this chapter than read it, you'd need to see DBZ episode 88 or DBZ Kai episode 43. Now to make this cover, the necessary materials are pretty simple. We just need 2 SH Figuarts figures. No third-party surprises, no roasting Bandai, well, not too severely at least. I think it's pretty much impossible at this point for me to make a video without roasting Bandai. And now that I think about it, that might actually be a fun experiment. We could call it the Try Not to Roast Bandai Challenge. You know what? I've just decided. I'm gonna try to not roast Bandai in this video. If I succeed, you have to either subscribe if you haven't already, or like the video if you are subscribed already, okay? If I fail, then leave a comment saying L, just L, alright? So with all that being said, let's recreate this cover and try my absolute hardest not to roast Bandai.
I don't need it. I don't need it. I definitely don't need it.
So first we'll need SH Figuarts 4th form Frieza. When I was growing up, we called this final form Frieza, but times have changed. Unfortunately, this figure doesn't have a stern or frowning face sculpt, so the closest thing is the smiling one. As for his hands, only one of them is visible on the cover, so we only technically need one fist, but I put both on there because why not? Oh, I almost forgot to mention this. The SHF Frieza has a tough time standing on its own, so I actually reshaped his tail. Let me give you the rundown. What I did was I heat his tail up by putting it in some hot water, then I stretched it, and finally I ran some cold water on it while I held it in place. This causes the plastic to take on a different shape, and I think this is some very useful knowledge. This is something I only found out about very recently, thanks to a video by Alex West Collects, a wrestling figure reviewer. So with Frieza's tail extended, he can stand perfectly fine without me having to worry about his balance. I honestly highly recommend this for anyone who has this Frieza figure. You can't really do this for full power Frieza though, since his tail is, well, incomplete. You can thank Krillin for that. Next is Goku. For him, we'll be using the Go-To Goku, at least until Kind-Hearted Saiyan releases, a Saiyan raised on Earth. Now, unlike Frieza, this one does have a stern or serious expression, so we'll use that. He also includes 2 fists. Just like Frieza, we only need one, but this isn't future Gohan, so I'll give him both hands. And with that, our 2 figures are ready to go. So today's video will be kind of groundbreaking, not only because I'm trying not to roast Bandai, but for other reasons too. First, we're going to be posing both figures at the same time. I thought about posing them separately, but I didn't want to have to worry about scaling and layers later, so I just took this approach. And this way, we can get a good look at how the scaling of these 2 figures compares to the manga. The second groundbreaking thing is that for this, I used a program called On Top Replica, which actually allowed me to overlay the manga cover onto my screen as I was posing the figures. This is probably something I'll keep using in the future because it really helps guide your posing, positioning, and so on. And by using this program, we can see that the scale of the figures and the scale of the manga are totally different. The manga Goku is much larger than the manga Frieza, compared to how much larger Saiyan Raised on Earth is than the SHF Frieza. Because of this, it isn't possible to replicate their sizes on the cover, unless you do something like photograph the figures separately and scale Goku up a bit, or you could bring Goku closer to the camera than Frieza, but then his feet wouldn't be lined up, so, there's that. And I really wanted this pose to be completely organic, so I'll keep the figures at their correct sizes. No camera tricks or anything like that, right? Of course, I tried to replicate the poses of the manga, but due to different limitations like the SHF Frieza not being able to extend his neck like the manga one, and Goku's body proportions not being the same, an exact replica wasn't possible. For example, the manga Goku is hunched over further than the SHF one, but if I hunched him over more, his head wouldn't be lined up with Frieza's, since the SHF Frieza is larger in scale than the manga Frieza. Either that or Saiyan Raised on Earth is smaller in scale than the manga Goku. You decide which one you think it is. Another potentially groundbreaking thing is that the background isn't 100% green screen this time. As you can see, Goku and Frieza are actually standing on the plain black table, with the green screen slightly behind them. Why did I do this? Well, since Goku is leaning forward so much, he wouldn't be able to stand unless I put sticky tack on one of his feet. However, sticky tack wouldn't hold him up if I put it on the green screen, since the cloth would rise up off my table. So I stuck him to the table instead, and I'll manually edit their feet later. Also, just like last time, I ended up using my phone for the final image because the quality was better. However, unlike last time, I only took 2 images to composite instead of like 6. Wow, I still haven't roasted Bandai. Just one more segment to go.
Wait, I'm actually not roasting Bandai? I can do that?
Wow, unreal. My gosh. Yes, 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 yes! I can win! I feel great! I can do this!
So I decided to work harder this time again, and this took me even longer than last time. To remove Goku and Frieza from this background took me approximately 2 hours, 43 minutes, and 6 seconds. So yes, I spent basically 3 hours doing this, just this part. If that doesn't earn a like or subscription, I don't know what would. The video you see is only about, 10 minutes or something? But there's a lot that goes into making these. So yeah, after that grueling experience, it was finally time to edit Goku and Frieza. At first, I was going to erase the green screen in GIMP, but I didn't really like how it was turning out, so I actually used DaVinci Resolve instead. After I removed the green screen, I was able to export a PNG with a transparent background. This probably only worked because the image was smaller than 4K, unlike episode 2. However, my work wasn't done there. I think that this time I encountered a similar issue to the last episode, that being that the figures felt like they were getting a bit lost in the background. Obviously, this isn't an issue for manga drawings because they have black outlines, so I ended up giving Goku and Frieza a black outline to help them stand out a bit more. And so, with the finishing touches applied, the runner-up was complete. I present to you Neither Gives an Inch in SH Figuarts form. Let me know your thoughts. Now, I have something pretty big planned for episode 6. That's a hint, by the way. So I think you guys will be very surprised at what it is. And I'd also like to take this time to congratulate myself for not roasting Bandai. I actually did it, so I better not see any L's in the comments. Be sure to left click the subscribe button or tap if you're on a phone, and if you enjoyed this video, like it, hype it. Hey, that sounds like a song, doesn't it? Like it, then I hype it, yeah. Like it, then I hype it. Oh, like it, then I hype it. Liked it so much that I typed it. Anyways, this isn't a music video. Be sure to also suggest future covers you'd like to see in the comments. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.
Vegeta, what does the scouter say about his price?
It's over 300!
What, 300? That can't possibly be right!
Alright guys, today we're recreating the most expensive manga cover I have ever made, and possibly the most expensive one I will ever make. Standing before us is the cover for Dragon Ball Chapter 265 featuring Big Boy Guru.
No way!
And he's not only big physically, but he's also big financially. Now, I want to be completely transparent with you guys. To make this video, I actually went to my bank and applied for a small loan of $400.
It has not been easy for me. And, you know, I started off in Brooklyn. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million.
And the application process was going pretty well. But as I was sitting in that cold, dark, well, it wasn't dark, it was daytime, but you get the point. As I was sitting there, waiting for the final approval, something hit me, and it felt kind of like I had lost my mind, and then I regained my sanity. I was like, wait, I'm getting a loan to buy a toy? What am I, insane? So I knocked the papers off the desk, stormed out, and decided to just Photoshop it instead. So no, I did not spend over $300 on that big green garbage. So this might end up being the shortest manga cover video yet. We only need one figure, and we don't need to unbox it, we don't have to pose it, nothing. All we need is a nice, clean, promotional image. This is probably the only time I'll say the words, "Thank you, Tamashi." And several parts of me just died inside. Now without further ado, let's begin. So the first thing we're gonna do is take ourselves over to the official Dragon Ball website, open this thing in a new tab, and proceed to save image as. Next, We bring it into GIMP along with the real manga cover and remove the background from the SHF Guru. Once that was done, I resized the SHF Guru to match the manga more closely before covering the manga Guru with white. And there you have it, folks. The cover for chapter 265 in SH Figuarts form. What you thought would be the most expensive cover actually turned out to be the cheapest. Let me know what you think. Now for episode 7, we'll be getting back into the ring with Bandai, because the roasting will be in full force.
Look at Michaels climbing up the Titantron like a cat. He'll do anything to escape.
If you enjoyed this video and want to join us for future manga cover recreations, be sure to subscribe, hype the video, like it, and all that stuff. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.